the other big, obviously, comic book movie studio, Warner Brothers, DC, they had their, poof of a panel is what I'm going to call it. Big announcement.
As anti-Disney as you can get.
It's interesting because I always compare the Comic-Con Hall H experiences to tech companies in terms of their announcements.
Absolutely.
Apple, I would argue Apple as a tech company owns with their big presentations is very kind of unified. Right. It makes sense that a Google has their keynote and their big conference. It definitely feels like a splatter all over the place. Microsoft is usually kind of a big fucking joke where it's like, what do you do? And I would say DC's panel was very much like a Google panel where you had a bunch of people announcing things at different times all over the place.
Really?
Yeah, like it wasn't like a
not
unified.
Cohesive,
it wasn't cohesive.
I mean, they did have a well. The thing is, it's not like just DC. It was a whole Warner Brothers panel. So that's like beyond their 2 superhero movies that are coming out this year.
What else? So yeah, what are the before we get into
and Black Adam?
No. But what are the other than the superhero stuff? What
Just
else?
movies and stuff like under the Warner Brothers like
banner.
Anything
banner.
that stood out to you?
I mean, it's not in this outline, so no.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
awesome.
nothing that stood out to me. Honestly, like
I would just be curious. Yeah. That's all.
Those are the big ones. Like, I mean, Shazam, we knew was coming.
I didn't.
I mean, the first one I enjoyed. The sequel looks interesting. It's a young teenager who has superpowers, who's trying to figure out who he is as a superhero.
Feels like a loser.
DC movies just feel like they're 5 years too late.
Yeah.
Too late?
Yeah. It just feels like it's hitting familiar like beats that have been covered in other movies
by Marvel.
And right, because they have to play catch up, right? Like they're at a huge disadvantage in a lot of ways. So everything that they do,
that 10 years behind.
Sometimes it just feels like they're behind. And like even watching the Shazam trailer, I'm like, oh, like
we've seen it before.
The classic second movie, like I'm going through the crisis. I'm like, this is Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And that's 20 years ago.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, wait, it's like, okay, it's familiar. Yeah, it's a different character, and it's a different studio, and it looks good, and different powers, but it's
and
like...
he has a team.
Some familiar beats, and there's not like necessarily it doesn't have the Marvel thing where it's like, I have this strong desire of like how it connects to everything else. It's just like Warner Brothers is now in the point of like, we'll just make a movie and see how it fits later type of... territory.
Yeah. Do we even know if Warner Brothers is trying to connect all their movies in that way, or are they really just?
I would argue. I mean, Warner Brothers unfortunately didn't have the Marvel cohesive, like Kevin Feige type person running everything. That's like the number one thing in terms of keeping everything cohesive. Number two, they've had a lot of issues with backlash over directors. Backlash over actors, like the big one with Ezra Miller and the weird shit he's been up to and what he's doing. And like Amber that Heard. Because he's playing the Flash, and there was this whole deal with the Flash Paradox movie and it being this connected thing that does their multiverse. A lot of people thought there would be some kind of announcement around that, and there was
nothing.
Nada. Because again, you don't know what's happening with this actor who's unfortunately gone off the deep end. So because of that, it was a very kind of vanilla panel where it's like, here's Shazam and here's Black Adam. The thing that's interesting is like Black Adam is being played by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and he is a very, over the top. Like when he is interested in a movie. I don't know what that was.
It was the bottom of your Jesus poster.
Oh, interesting.
The bottom of your Jesus poster.
When Dwayne Johnson's like really involved or interested in a project, he goes all out in terms of like promoting.
He's going to market it himself.
Well, he came out in the suit.
He came out in the suit, like flying in the suit. Yeah,
of course he did.
He was he's very into that, and I think that makes
That's
like for me, I'm very excited for that movie because he's clearly excited about that movie.
Yeah,
sure, it's probably going to be like your run of the mill action movie with the three parts, beginning, middle, and end. And some stuff will happen. Pierce Brosnan's playing Dr. Fate. I think that's another cool thing.
That'll be fun. Only because I've watched Young Justice season 4.
Dr. Fate's amazing.
So more of the stuff that's happening, I'm like, oh, I get it now. Thank you,
There are
Young
multiple
Justice.
Dr. Fates in the trailer. Is that just him using his powers, or
I believe so? Yeah.
Or are there just multiple Dr. Fates?
Kind of like in
Also,
Young Justice.
there's gonna be a Hawkman.
Hawkman's in
Yeah,
there.
that's
There's
exciting.
Adam as well.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I
exciting.
didn't see the Adam.
Yeah, the tall thing that was running
I
through.
missed that.
Adam.
I
I
blacked
thought you
out.
said Adam. I was
No.
like, Adam?
No,
You mean Black Adam?
Black Adam's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's in that movie.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, but
Yeah.
again, like,
it'll be fun.
unfortunately, Warner Brothers has been dealt a terrible hand, and I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening.
Wait, they've been a dealt hand, as in the
Bad
people,
management.
the people that they've picked,
Yes.
and some of the creative decisions they've made.
And their creatives have changed. Like their head of studios changed like 2 or 3 times since they started the DCEU.
And that's also
So,
because of
like-
all the acquisitions that's happened,
Right.
too. Like, AT&T offloaded them to Discovery.
Yeah, now it's,
wow,
they're-
wow,
And they're
wow.
going through those transitions still. So, like, it makes sense that nothing makes any sense there.
It makes sense that nothing makes sense.
I think
like
they're
that.
just going one movie at a time and then like seeing what sticks at this point in
Yeah.
terms of like
Like, we know our Joker 2's coming out because the Joker was
with
a really-
Joaquin Phoenix.
With Joaquin
and then
Phoenix.
the Batman's getting a sequel.
Mhm.
But then everything besides that, it's like if Aquaman does well, like he'll get a sequel and the things that worked will continue on.
Does that you mean the second Aquaman? Is
Yeah,
the
like
second
that will get a
one
third
does?
one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Personally, though, I think that's okay for DC. Like, DC...
yeah,
When
Absolutely.
like DC does a really good job with their animated division, right? Their animated series
Yes.
are like top notch. Their animated movies, some of the best, most memorable like comic book things to date, like Under the Red Hood,
Yeah.
fucking amazing movie. Some of those things get sequels because again they do well. I think they're slowly starting to like copy that, where it's like the Batman does good, let's just work off of that. The Joker's doing good, let's work off of that. Let's not have to like think everything needs to be connected.
and they shouldn't. They
I
shouldn't
think
do
that's
that.
their smartest choice because you already have this superhero connected universe in the MCU. Just trying to directly compete with that, you're not going to do well. So
There's
just-
not enough bandwidth.
all they need to do is just make good things.
Yes.
And continue those good things, and then the things that don't work, let those end,
Let them
and
die.
then make other things that could be good.
Yeah.
Very simple process.
What's also interesting too, so they're doing reshoots right now for the Aquaman sequel.
Yeah.
And Jason Momoa, maybe on purpose, maybe on accident, revealed that Ben Affleck is gonna be Batman.
So the
That
rumor,
was hilarious.
so the rumor is because Aquaman was supposed to come out after the Flash,
Right.
and Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to cameo at the end to signify the universal changes. Because Aquaman is now coming out before the Flash, wouldn't have made much sense for Keaton to show up. So they got Affleck.
So the reshoots are replacing Michael Keaton with Ben
yeah,
Affleck?
to put him back in because it's like, okay, this is going to be before the Flash.
That's
we don't want to confuse
amazing.
audiences.
I also believe
That is amazing.
Ben Affleck's personal life plays a role in all of
His
this.
he's
marriage?
happy now.
Because he's happy with J-Lo, and J-Lo's like, I want my husband to stay as Batman, so
And he was like, okay.
and he's like, okay.
Oh,
That is my
interesting.
bold prediction.
The third Batman movie will be, with the Robert Pattinson, will be called The Batman, and they're just going to bring back all the Batmans.
They
And
should.
It's just gonna
Absolutely.
It's going to be
Chaos.
Pattinson. It's going to be Bale, Keaton, Affleck.
Affleck.
Just, all being Batman. And then they face all the Jokers. So, like, it'll be the Batman and the Jokers.
So you know how
Not
they do
all
like
the
those big
Jokers.
Power Ranger team ups?
Yeah, right.
It's basically gonna be that.
Jack Nicholson will come back, though.
Only if Mark Hamill can be in that too.
As
Yeah,
the
it's gonna be-
animated
It's
Joker.
gonna it's gonna be like a what's it called, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit with a mix of humans and animated and Mark Hamill's.
Oh my
That's where
god! I would watch half an hour of that if it was like a 30-minute special TV
Did anyone
special.
watch the Chippendale movie on Disney Plus?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's very much like it's like Roger Rabbit with the
Yeah.
mix of animated characters and humans.
One
It's
of
really
the
funny.
one of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
characters updates themselves to like CG.
Yeah.
But the
That's actually really
the
funny.
movie's
Hilarious.
really good because like they're playing the actors who played the characters in Chippendale in the real world.
Well, that's so
great.
meta.
Yeah, it's very
Wait.
good.
This is when did this movie come out?
It's on Disney Plus.
Okay,
A couple months
Chippendale,
ago?
right?
The
I
Chippendale-
totally,
Andy
Chippendale
Samberg.
totally went
Rescue
over my
Rangers.
head. I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Andy Samberg and
Andy Samberg and John
Oh,
Mulaney are
Yeah,
Chippendale.
playing Chippendale.
Oh,
Mulaney
God.
is like weird.
Yes, very.
That's his
But
thing.
it's- it works.
So it's kind of DC. I mean, there's a lot to be desired. We'll see what happens.
lot to be
I'm
desired.
sure Comic-Con 2023 will be also vanilla.
We should also mention Walking Dead had 4 panels in Hall H.
Please tell me that's a joke.
No,